Never reveal your next move too soon. The moment you start speaking about it, you open a door for doubt, interference, and unnecessary opinions to walk right in. People love to ask, "What's your next move?" Not always because they care or want to support you, but often because they want to measure, compare, or even undermine your direction. The truth is, most people can't handle hearing your vision before it's fully developed. They'll project their fears onto it, trying to make you second-guess what God already confirmed in your heart. When you share your plans too early, you give the enemy a preview of your strategy. Not everyone who smiles at you is cheering for you. Some are simply waiting to see what they can take or twist. There's wisdom in silence. The strongest people move quietly. Think about Nehemiah. When he went to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, he didn't announce it to anyone at first. He inspected the ruins in the dark, away from watching eyes. Why? Because premature exposure invites unnecessary opposition. When you talk too soon, you lose momentum. Energy that should be going into building starts going into defending. Protect what's sacred until it's strong enough to stand on its own. You don't need validation to make a move that was divinely instructed. The world might question it, but your obedience is not up for debate. Faith isn't loud. Faith doesn't need to broadcast its process. It only needs to trust its purpose. You don't owe people explanations for walking a path they weren't called to walk. Let your growth happen in secret. The seed doesn't announce itself before breaking through the soil. It just does the work underground until the world can't help but notice the bloom. That's the kind of patience and wisdom you must carry. Keep some things between you and God. Let Him be the only one who knows every step before it happens. There's a special kind of peace in being unpredictable. When people can't read your next move, they can't manipulate it. When they can't predict your next decision, they can't prepare to stop it. Silence keeps your power intact. Every time you resist the urge to overshare, you reinforce the boundary between your vision and the noise around you. The most disciplined warriors never reveal their strategy, they just execute it. In the same way, your next move isn't meant to be a conversation, it's meant to be an action. The most powerful moments in your journey will happen when no one's watching. That's when you'll learn, grow, and strengthen yourself for what's coming. Keep your vision close, your prayers private, and your moves silent. Because when the time is right, your success will speak louder than any explanation ever could. You don't need to announce every step. Just keep walking in faith. God will reveal what He wants the world to see, exactly when it's meant to be seen. People will always ask, "Why are you doing that?" Especially when your actions don't fit their idea of what's normal, acceptable, or expected. But here's the truth. When you are walking in your purpose, not everyone will understand it. Some will question your motives, others will doubt your direction, and a few will even criticize your choices. But you don't owe anyone an explanation for following the call that God placed on your heart. People see what you do, but they don't see what you've prayed through. They don't see the battles you've fought in silence, the tears you've wiped away when no one was watching, or the quiet moments where you asked God for strength just to take the next step. So when they ask, "Why are you doing that?" remember, they weren't there when you were called. Many people speak from fear, not faith. When they question your choices, it's often a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. They're not really asking because they want to understand. They're asking because they can't imagine themselves doing it. They don't see what you see. They don't hear what you hear. And that's okay. Vision is personal. When God gives you an assignment, He doesn't send a group text. He gives it to you alone. That means others might look at your path and call it risky, unrealistic, or even foolish. But faith has never been about logic. It's about obedience. When Noah started building the ark, people must have asked the same question: "Why are you doing that?" Yet Noah didn't stop to explain himself. He just kept building, one plank at a time, because he trusted what God said more than what people thought. There will always be moments in life where your decisions confuse others. You might step away from something that everyone else thinks is secure. You might pursue a dream that doesn't make sense on paper. You might change directions in a way that shocks people around you. But remember, you are not called to please people. You are called to walk in purpose. Sometimes that means being misunderstood. Sometimes it means walking alone. And sometimes it means choosing faith over comfort. People who don't understand your conviction will try to talk you out of it, but don't let their confusion become your hesitation. You don't need to explain divine instruction to human understanding. What God told you to do wasn't a conference call. You have to learn to be at peace with not being understood. Let your actions speak. Let your results testify. When the time is right, the same people who questioned you will see why you had to move the way you did. Until then, protect your purpose from unnecessary commentary. Keep your eyes fixed on the vision, not on the voices around you. Because if you spend all your time explaining yourself, you'll never have the energy to execute what God told you to do. Keep walking, keep building, and let obedience be your only answer. People love to ask, who are you seeing, talking to, or trusting? They frame it as curiosity, as concern, or as simple conversation. But often, it's none of those things. Sometimes people ask because they want to know who influences you, who speaks into your life, or who you lean on when you're weak. But when it comes to trust and loyalty, privacy is protection. Not everyone should have access to the names or faces of the people in your circle. Because when they can't get to you directly, they'll try to reach those close to you. They'll look for open doors, cracks in your foundation, anything that gives them a way in. The moment people know who you're close to, they'll start to analyze, question, and even manipulate those relationships. That's why the strongest bonds are the quietest ones. You don't have to announce who you talk to, confide in, or spend time with. The power of a circle doesn't come from its visibility. It comes from its integrity. True loyalty doesn't need validation. When you keep your relationships private, you allow them to grow without external pressure, judgment, or interference. Some people will try to gather information about your life just to use it later. They'll disguise gossip as concern and curiosity as care. But discernment teaches you to see the difference. You must understand that not everyone who listens deserves to hear your truth, and not everyone who smiles wants the best for you. Even Jesus, who had 12 disciples, didn't reveal everything to all 12. There were moments of intimacy he shared with only 3, and even among them, some didn't fully understand his mission. That's not secrecy, it's wisdom. The more you grow in life and in faith, the more selective you must become about who gets your trust. Not because you're paranoid, but because your calling is precious. And precious things must be guarded. When you tell people too much about who you rely on, you give them the ability to attack the very source of your strength. That's why silence isn't cold, it's calculated. It's spiritual maturity. The truth is, sacred relationships lose their purity when exposed to unnecessary attention. What starts as something genuine can quickly become distorted when it's placed under the eyes of envy and judgment. The world doesn't need to know who you talk to, who prays for you, or who stands by you in your weakest moments. Let your circle remain unseen. Keep your confidants covered in discretion and prayer. The fewer people know your support system, the harder it is for anyone to divide it. Privacy doesn't mean isolation, it means protection. You're not hiding people, you're honoring the value they hold in your life. In a generation where everyone overshares, learn the art of keeping quiet about what matters most. The more the world guesses, the more peace you'll have. Move with quiet confidence. Let your connections speak through the strength they bring you, not the attention they attract. Because the most powerful alliances are the ones nobody can see coming. People love to ask, how much money do you make? As if your worth can be summed up by a number. It's one of those questions that often comes wrapped in fake curiosity or casual conversation, but underneath it, there's usually comparison, competition, or judgment. People don't ask because they truly care. They ask because they want to place you somewhere on their invisible scale of success. They want to know if you're above them, below them, or somewhere in between. But the moment you answer, you let them define you by a measure that was never meant to represent your real value. Your income might show what you earn, but it doesn't show your integrity, your faith, your work ethic, or your purpose. and those are the things that actually define your worth. When you share how much you make, you open yourself up to all kinds of energy, envy, expectation, or even exploitation. Some will treat you differently if they think you make a lot, others will treat you differently if they think you make a little. Either way, it changes how they see you, and suddenly, they're not relating to you as a person anymore. They're relating to you as a number. Money has a strange way of bringing out people's true intentions. It can reveal who respects you and who resents you. That's why wisdom teaches you to stay quiet. What you earn is between you, your work, and your God. You don't need to explain or justify your blessings to anyone. The world constantly tries to equate wealth with success, but that's not how divine order works. Some of the richest people in faith and wisdom don't have much in their bank accounts, yet they carry peace that no money can buy. And some who appear to have everything live empty lives chasing more. Your value doesn't increase with your salary. It increases with your obedience to your purpose. Money can't measure character. It can't buy peace of mind, fulfillment, or the sense of direction that comes from knowing you're walking the path God designed for you. So when someone asks that question, remember, you're not required to answer. Silence doesn't mean arrogance. It means awareness. It means you understand that your finances are personal and they're not a topic for public discussion. When you stop talking about what you make, you take back control over how people perceive you. You take away their ability to judge, compare, or categorize you. You also protect yourself from unnecessary pressure, jealousy, and manipulation. Money should never be a measure of confidence or validation. True confidence comes from knowing that your provision comes from God, not from a paycheck. Your financial journey is unique and it's sacred. It's the product of your discipline, your faith, and your perseverance. No one has the right to define that for you. Keep your numbers private, but let your gratitude be public. Because your true wealth is not in what's in your bank account. It's in your heart, your peace, and your purpose. People often ask, "What do you pray for?" as if knowing your prayers will help them understand your strength, your peace, or your blessings. But prayer is one of the most sacred conversations a person can have. It's not meant for public display or discussion. When you pray, you open your soul before God, exposing your fears, your desires, and your deepest thoughts. That's not something everyone deserves access to. In a world that constantly wants to see everything, share everything, and question everything, it takes wisdom to keep certain things private. Your prayers are personal because they are the language between you and the Creator. They are not words to impress people. They are words that move heaven. When people ask about your prayers, they might not always mean harm. Some are genuinely curious, wanting to understand what drives your faith or fuels your peace. But others may carry different intentions. Some want to measure your spiritual life. Others may judge your priorities, and a few may even use your vulnerability against you. The truth is, not everyone can handle knowing what you're asking God for. Some people would rather see you struggle than see your prayers answered. That's why the most powerful prayers are often the ones said in silence, behind closed doors, where no one else can interfere with that sacred exchange between you and God. When you pray, it's not about letting the world know. It's about letting heaven hear. Your requests, your pain, your gratitude, and your hope all belong in that intimate space. The more you share publicly about what you're praying for, the more opinions and expectations people attach to your faith. They start watching, waiting to see if your prayers come true, treating your spiritual walk like it's a performance to be judged instead of a relationship to be honored. Protect your prayers from that kind of scrutiny, not because you're ashamed of what you're asking for, but because some things lose their power when they're exposed too soon. There's a certain strength in keeping your spiritual life private. It's not secrecy, it's sanctity. You don't need to post every prayer or tell everyone what you're believing for. God already knows. The quiet moments when you're on your knees, whispering words only He can hear, are the moments that shape your faith the most. People might not understand it, but that's not their role. What happens in prayer is between the soul and the spirit. The world doesn't need to know what keeps you up at night or what you cry out for when you're alone. It's not about hiding. It's about preserving the sacredness of your connection with God. Your prayers are your blueprint for transformation, your personal communication with the one who sees beyond appearances. They carry the weight of your journey, your pain, your purpose, and your hope. Keep that space protected, because once you let the wrong people in, they can contaminate it with doubt, envy, or distraction. Let your prayers remain unseen but deeply felt. What you whisper in secret has the power to move mountains in silence.